Good afternoon. Sorry, we are trying to finalize our ruling. Hence, slight delay. So, let's confirm appearances that are before.
Except on our side,
Yes. Yes. The respondent side.
So the respondent, they believe yes.
Okay, we'll start with everybody of the ruling with reserved for today, which Honorable Justice Body shall release on behalf.
This is our ruling. This suit was set for hearing from the 3rd of September 2019 to the 7th of September 2019. On the 3rd of September 2019, before the commencement of the hearing, Mr. Jorge Riguero and counsel for the second and third respondents informed the courts that the respondents had experienced difficulty in securing the attendance of 3 of their witnesses who were examined, namely Mr. Ludwig Muredi, Engineer Karanja Sibicho, and Mr. Jerome Kim. This explanation was that the state witnesses were engaged in official business out of Nairobi and the country during the days of the year. He requested for a hearing date after 1st of October 2019 for each witnesses to be available for examination as directed by the court and requested by the petitioner. The petitioners led by Honorable Martha Alwan, senior counsel, posted the application and contended that the same was a deliberate and delaying tactic by the respondents who were taking the court for granted. They eyed the courts not to adjourn the hearings to a further date, given that one of their expert witnesses is traveling all the way from India, and this matter still remains active. This court has considered the application by Mr. Riguero and the arguments made by the parties. Under Article 109 of the Constitution, this court is required to be guided by various principles, including that justice shall be done all respective of status. Justice shall procedural technicalities, and that the purpose and principles of this Constitution shall be protected and promoted. In addition, we will touch on the Constitution of Kenya, protection of rights and fundamental freedoms, practice and procedure rules of 2013, gives discretion to this court to extend time. It is notable that this court gave detailed directions as to the hearing of the petitions hearing. And although this court did not specify the dates and times witnesses were to be present, it was envisaged that they would be available when required during the hearing, during the dates set for hearing. However, as this court did not issue any witness summons to the said witnesses, and given the imperative of substantive justice that requires this court to hear all matters all parties before making a decision, we have decided to exercise our discretion in the respondent's favor. This concession notwithstanding, we are also constrained point out that given the nature and urgency of the matters presented to the petitions herein, this will be the last opportunity to the respondents to avail the state witness. In the premises, the respondent's oral application is allowed only to the extent of setting additional hearing dates on the 2nd and 3rd of October 2019 for 10 a.m. to receive the state witnesses' evidence, and for the state witnesses' cross-examination and re-examination. In the event of non-compliance by the respondent, these courts will be at liberty to make adverse inferences as regards the state witnesses' evidence. That was our ruling number 4.
So we can now proceed with the respondent's cases. So please, again, we will connect and
This is the brief opening statement on behalf of the respondents. And we state that it is important that we begin by demystifying what NIIMs really is. And the NIIMs stands for National Integrated Identity Management System, and ultimately it leads to the Bima number. In a nutshell, NIIMs is a system through which the government of Kenya will collect.
Mr. Again,
Yes.
even though we are recording the proceedings, we are still recording by longhand.
Okay,
So you'll be a bit slow in your statement.
So shall I start? And that NIIMs stands for the National Integrated Identity Management System, leading ultimately to the Bima number. And it is a system through which the government will collect and store data concerning its citizens and other nationals residing in Kenya at any particular time in digital form. In that context, NIIMs is really nothing complex. It is all about digitizing the information which the government already has, and which the government of Kenya has been collecting without any protest from many quarters for almost 100 years. Whether it is through the taxation system, the social security system, immigration matters, you name it. That information pertaining to the citizens of this country is already held as it is the government. And all that the government purposes to do is to consolidate that information, store it digitally, for ease of retrieval and for ease of use. Secondly, Planet Page, it is worth reiterating that digitization of government record is the way to go. It is the way of the future. Not just in Kenya, but globally. We will be showing, relying on evidence from both the petitioners and the respondents, that trend is indeed irreversible. That nobody wants to go back to the paper age. And that Kenya cannot be expected to be held back as the rest of the world makes strides in technological advancement. So, NIIMs has come in at the right time. And implementation of NIIMs will be of immense benefit to the citizens of this country, first and foremost, and at a secondary level, foreigners who happen to register and for limitation of time, I do not want to go through the litany of immense benefits of NIIMs. Otherwise, I'll keep you here until the cows come home. You only need to look at the material we have listed before you. I highlight only one of them, paragraph 43. Paragraph 43 of the pictures. Replying affidavit, so on 26 of February 2019. This administrator of NIIMs has condensed for the bench's consumption and understanding the immense benefits. They run from A to B, 15 of them. I shy from reading all of them, but I could just start it. Availability of accurate population data will facilitate adequate planning to enable service delivery to Kenyans. We're talking about informed decision making, so that our decision makers are not doing this randomly. Standardization and streamlining. Coverage of registration of all areas of Kenya. People talk about regionalization and so on. NIIMs is meant to bring everybody together. And the detection of fraudulent activities, including identity theft. Security is enhanced for citizens. And in that, Brazil County Terrorist Act, it will minimize. Detection of crime, murders, robberies, rape, and so on, easily detected. Therefore, it is a useful tool in the enforcement of law. And when you come to financial transactions, the benefits are endless. There's also in land transactions. And the taxman will tell you that NIIMs is going to be a very useful tool in revenue collection. So, government is not implementing, has not designed NIIMs for the sake of it. It is a deliberate effort at improving the lives of Kenyans through effective, proper, managed, and planned delivery of services. Next point is that even diehard opponents of NIIMs agree that mankind must never go back to paper, that digital is the way to go. And yes, in the process, there will be challenges that simply come with the territory. For instance, there is all of these documents, challenges to rights to privacy, children's rights, data protection, cyber security, and so on. Question is, should these inevitable challenges hold back mankind so that we don't venture to the next step. The answer we say on behalf of the respondents is a firm no. We must trudge on whilst at the same time taking the necessary mitigation measures. You will hear from my members of the bench about the locally developed software, and they will give you evidence to satisfy you that the inbuilt design of NIIMs has unnecessary capabilities to meet these challenges and to mitigate as necessary. Special mention is made of the first petition that was filed here, petition number 56, by a group of persons, the Nubians, and we will be able to show during the hearing of these petitions that really their case amounts to a complaint against the process of acquiring national identity cards under the Registration of Persons Act, a situation that obtained and prevailed prior to December 2018, when the impugned amendments to the Act were passed. Essentially, therefore, those grievances, in our humble view, are wholly irrelevant to the constitutional issues that you have to grapple with and say. In so stating, my ladies and gentlemen, we do not disregard the serious allegation of discrimination. It is an emotive issue. But we will be able to demonstrate in our defense that no evidence has been adduced to support this alleged discrimination, allegedly meted out exclusively to the Nubian community. The government has the evidence filed before this court refuted most strongly that it discriminates against any section of its population. And from a legal viewpoint, the bench will easily recognize the catch-22 situation that the government finds itself in the context of alleged discrimination. Because on the one hand, the government does not want to exclude any deserving registrant. And yet, on the other hand, government has a responsibility and obligation to ensure that aliens and foreigners who are not Kenyans do not get registered as Kenyans. It is a dicey position that government finds itself in, and evidence will be led as to the vetting process that is employed to ensure that there is fairness beginning right from the grassroots where the community's own elders are the first port of call in vetting. My ladies and lords, the cost-benefit argument will be canvassed. So will be the issue of competing interests. And similarly, the issue of limitation of rights under Article 24 of the Constitution for the common good. We will be submitting that NIIMs passes all these tests with flying colors. It will be worth noting that the implementation of NIIMs has received overwhelming public support. The administrator of NIIMs will be here, is directed by the court. And he will tell you that over 38 million Kenyans have voted with their fingerprints. They have endorsed NIIMs by going and queuing up and registering in the NIIMs. We think that says something about our population's perception of NIIMs. We have an enlightened population, and they must have consciously, deliberately decided that NIIMs is good for them without any compulsion. And let's not forget that the standard petitioner here in documents before you has previously supported NIIMs. We can't understand their position today. Ultimately, the ladies, my Lord, we shall be submitting that the petitioners have failed to demonstrate to you, as it is their moral burden to do, that NIIMs is unsafe, either from an architectural and design perspective, or from a legal protection perspective. We will be drawing attention to the laws that have existed prior to the impugned amendment that govern security of data. You have the Data Protection Bill also of 2018 and the Huduma Number Bill of 2019. They are before the courts. And we hasten to point out that the formulation of these new laws, the 2018-2019 bills, does not in any way suggest that the current laws are deficient. They are not. We know that the country in various spheres continues to improve on the legislative framework, whether it is in land laws, in traffic laws, you name it. So these new acts merely come in to reinforce and buttress what is already an existing and robust legal framework to protect privacy, data, and so on. Even our supreme law, the Constitution, speaks to these concerns. Ultimately, learned members of the bench, it will be your role and duty to analyze the impure legislation to check whether it was constitutional. You'll be checking to see whether it violates the Constitution as alleged. This is why these are constitutional petitions. And with profound respect to the bench, your role does not extend to some of the orders sought here by the petitioners. For instance, to weigh the sufficiency or otherwise of a statute. That is a legislative function. Courtesy of separation of powers, it is not for the bench to address that. Similarly, it is not the role of the court to import principles from certain foreign jurisdictions and to demand that such principles be made part of Kenya's legislation. As attractive as they might be, the court will be slow to make such orders. Again, it is a legislative function. It was deemed necessary. By the same token, it is not the role of the court to substitute its views with those of the legislature. Many a time we have seen statutes challenged here, and the courts have always been very slow. They say that Parliament, in its wisdom or otherwise, has enacted this law, and unless there are very stringent regulations met, this constitution court refuses to. Very importantly, it is not within the powers of this court to develop policy so as to replace the policy that the executive or the government has developed. And we will be taking you through the registration of persons policies over time developed by government. The petitioners are out of step to ask you to change that policy and substitute it with the petition one. If you should find ultimately that the Constitution has not been violated, then the inevitable outcome is to dismiss the consolidated petitions. And we, in fact, submit that these petitions are for dismissal, burden of proof has not been discharged. And finally, land members of the bench, let Kenyans step into the future and embrace all the benefits of technology like the rest of the world. There is no 100% perfect system on the planet, but sufficient safeguards have been developed, have been installed to ensure that NIIMs serve this country and its citizens in good stead for the years to come.
Thank you, Mr. Ageru. So we can proceed with the examination of the witnesses, the adoption of the evidence.
That's why I'm writing my keyboard. The evidence that should be is good for the
you like to speak well on the feet, or you like to maybe you start with the feet and then you get tired. Will you please tell the code your full name?
Brian Krishna. Good morning.
Mr. Mwenga, on the 14th day of May 2019, you show an affidavit on behalf of the fifth respondent in evidence in this matter.
That is good.
My ladies, my lord, it's 14th of May 2019. That affidavit is on record and forms your evidence in chief. Mr. Mwenga, that evidence, that forms your evidence in chief.
Yes, it does.
Now, if you could briefly, in a synopsis, attached to that affidavit, my lady, there is a bundle. If you make available a bundle of documents that was filed as an annexure to the affidavit. Do you have that with you? Okay, you briefly in a synopsis tell the court your educational qualifications.
I hold a master's in engineering systems and policy from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. I also have a bachelor's degree, but while at MIT, I focused on large-scale systems, the design of large-scale systems. And I did my undergraduate studies.
What is the point? What is your qualification? Just you said you hold a master's.
I hold a master's from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology in engineering systems, technology and policy, where I'm focused particularly on the design of large-scale systems. It's a particular class of systems that I define as chaos, complex, chaos meaning complex, large, interconnected, open and social tech.
You hold a bachelor's degree from Strathmore University?
Yes, I hold a bachelor's from Strathmore University in business information technology.
Just don't be shy. Say you were a first class.
Yeah, it was a first class, and I was actually the lead student.
You're currently registered as a PhD candidate in computer science.
Science and
Ladies, my lord, I would point out that perhaps Mr. Mwenga's CPD is on handwritten page 24 as an annexed because so that we don't go through the whole click and all that kind of thing. Briefly, again, you could tell the court what your professional engagement perhaps.
So I define myself as a software and systems engineer. I'm also a researcher and an architect. So with respect to academia, notably, beyond doing my doctorate, I also teach the design and analysis of algorithms for the University of Peru, amongst other courses. As a researcher, I've worked several with multinational companies, and one notable achievement I think that to note is a patent that filed in 2011 on a method of identity using multimedia signatures. This was granted by the US Patent and Trademark Office earlier this year. And finally, as a software and systems engineer, I do a lot of advisory on systems, including building systems. But I particularly give advice as an IT consultant, and I've given my consultancy services to the government, and this is in particular two projects. One which might be of note is the enterprise architecture for the Ministry of Health, which has won 2 global awards, one in India and actually one for the OPEC group architectural framework. And the second one is the government-wide enterprise architecture, which forms the basis, a logical basis of my architecture.
You are widely published.
Yes, I'm widely published. Actually, including by the Association of Computer Industry. I have several papers.
My lord, you will see that on page 26, 100 page 26 of the affidavit by the witness. Look at your affidavit. Look at your affidavit, page 27. That lays out your work experience.
Yes, partially.
Yes, 27, 28, 29 shows what your work experience is.
Yes.
Which two of these items would you like to highlight the book, particularly with respect to the matter?
The two particular items that I think would be.
It's leading in chief because there was like caveat that the witness should not be led in chief. It appears that someone just to do that.
My lady, my lord, I'm introduced to
I think for expert witnesses, it's in order for them, for their expertise to be such, for they then adopt their objectives. I guess that's what I think.
That's what I think. Thank you very much. I then at the end of it. You are saying something about your involvement in the matter. What would you tell the court?
Of note, I would say, because I have been involved in the design of the government-wide enterprise architecture, of which there was a feasibility study I followed. One of the recommendations from the enterprise architecture was a unified unique model.
Very well. Then you have stated that you have rendered consulting services to the government. Does this include the NIIMs project?
I have given advisory services on this project.
Thank you very much. Senior counsel, fellows are asking some to
Thank you very much.
So I'm not sure whether I adopted
sorry. Do you adopt your witness affidavit as your evidence in chief? It is not.
Yes, sir. With your permission, if I probably add one more thing.
Yes.
Based on work done for the technology sector, and this is from a social perspective, I'd like to probably say that I have also chaired the technical committee at setting standards and software engineering for the country for the last 6 years. And in addition to that, I've also tried to consolidate our local tech community.
So, in terms of the examination, who will be examining? Mr. Bashir and Mr. Wen. Yes, Mr. Bashir.
Is the one. Here for the public. Let's start with your. You have your affidavit, the one just also. Yes. Would you agree that the first actual mention of NIIMs in that affidavit comes as paragraph 1? Yes, that's the first place you mentioned NIIM. And you start that by saying that the best of my knowledge, right? Mr. Mwenga, you are here today as an expert testifying for the government. That you do quite a number of consultancy training, including the one you mentioned at paragraph 4, the government-wide architect enterprise. Yes. How many contracts have you done for the government in the last? When did you graduate from school? I'm actually at law. So when did you start formally? When did you start practicing your computer software engineering? Since 2005. So that would be how long? 14 years. So for the last 14 years, do you remember how many consultancies you've done for the company? I would place them four. In individual capacity and also in you currently have a contract with them? Consultancy over there? I have a contract. You have a contract with them? Yes. I've already fulfilled. You have a contract or you don't? Right now. What was that contract that you had with them? Was, if you want to call it, an action research project that resulted in an enterprise application that I believe was done in 2016. You did that? Have you been paid for that one? Yes, sir. All of it? Yes. How do you know spending money? Have you tendered an affidavit or testified in court as an expert in any other case prior to this? Yes, sir. Which one? How many? What is the number?
as an expert.
Yes.
Let's narrow. Have you provided affidavit evidence or testified for the government in any other case prior to this?
For the government, no.
For who?
I have done it. I have done it twice and people, after the people. I have done it for political parties.
You've done it for political party. Can you name that political party? It will be party. Which case was it that you done that evidence? Was it affidavit or did you actually do that?
It was,
Which case was it?
it was president.
Which presidential district? The evidence is it the first one or the second? The one that was 95 or both? Did both. Who procured you to provide that affidavit evidence?
I was actually
You are an advisor to the GBE? GBE.
Yeah.
Are you still an advisor to GBE? Go on to say you are an advisor to GBE. You were saying you are
my contract lapsed.
you had a contract with GBE to provide advisory services. What is the limit of your contract with the GBE party? Was it related to testifying with?
It was to provide advice on markets.
We have already determined that you provided affidavit evidence to support that, right? Did your contract with the GBE party include the provision of that evidence report?
It wasn't necessarily wanted as such.
Yes, yes, no. Did that include that affidavit?
In my understanding, the advisory stuff, yes.
So, then, so the Jubilee Party presumably paid you for that advisory? Yes,
Yes,
you are paid.
I paid for my work.
You are paid for the advisory services provided, including the report.
Yeah, we lost necessarily. I was paid
You
for
are-
my
you-
advisory service.
I don't want to argue with you, Mr. Wanda. You are paid for your advisory services, yes or no?
Consultancy,
Yes.
consultancy contract. Was
Mr. Mwanga,
yes.
you are paid for your advisory services with the Jubilee government when you provided to the Jubilee, sorry, the Jubilee Party, the Jubilee Party for the advice that you provided as an expert. Including, as you said in your word, extending to the election issue.
Yes, we talked about that.
So you have been paid before. Testify as an expert, including among other subjects.
I would say that
It's, I guess, already been paid before you have it.
I should pay for.
Yes. Let us come now to the NIIMs system and what it is. You describe yourself as a software, computer software engineer. So, you have not tendered any evidence of any of the technical aspects of it. Do you have that? You said you no longer have any contract with the government. You don't have a contract with the government. So you are not currently involved in the technical aspect. I would say yes. Are you involved? You don't have a contract with the government. You get paid for your services.
If they ask me a question,
let's interrogate that. If they ask you a question,
I give them a point. Based on the documents, based on the documents and the
let's actually interrogate. When you say if they ask you a question, I give them an answer. Who are you replying?
The government.
Who normally asks you questions?
The contracting principal in this question is
the principal secretary in which department? That would be Mr. Jerome, who is the fifth respondent this matter. Yes. So you have an ongoing relationship with the fifth respondent, whereby if they ask you questions, you answer.
Because the documents are disposed.
Your documents are in possession.
Yeah.
Your architecture is in this position, despite the fact that you don't have a contract with them. They don't pay you currently. Yet, when they ask you questions, you answer.
It's a matter of clarity on that.
Yeah, you just answer.
Yes.
Yeah. So you would say that it is the fifth respondent, cabinet secretary, you said, the principal secretary, who asked you to testify.
He requested for you to give expert advice.
You have a consultancy firm.
I would say yes.
What do you call it?
I typically do with network services. Network services.
Netpoint Limited or Data? Is that are they two separate entities, or is that an or like the same name but an or?
Actually, for building systems, I use
So there are two separate entities.
yes. For advisory,
For advisory use
I use
the data. It's called the data.
the technical.
The technical data network of things. And the other is entity you said what?
I also consult customer.
You also use your own name.
I use my own name, and I also consult a group who professors to the university.
Together with a group of professors at the University of Nairobi. You have no contract pending with none of your companies have any contract with the government at the moment. You very careful. Okay.
One of them has.
One of them died. Which one is that? That one. Tell me about that one.
It basically is a software.
It builds software. What is the contract?
The contract to
The national library. What is the value of that?
right now it's a support.
What is the value of that contract?
200,000.
300,000 should be. What is the length of that contract?
It's
Annual. So it's renewable.
yes.
Depending on performance.
If I have correct myself,
It's okay. I'm
I haven't
almost
I
done.
haven't renewed that contract yet.
Excuse me?
I haven't renewed that contract.
So you do have a contract or you don't have a contract?
I don't. As of this moment, I do not have. So I'm waiting for them to call me to see.
All right. Thank you. Thank
They
you.
want a renewal on the book.
You have been described as well published. How many papers have you written? Maybe not approximately.
Maybe about 6.
6 papers. None of those papers is about me. Let me rephrase it for you. You have not submitted any paper in your evidence about the National Integrated Identity Management. You have.
Yes. Go ahead.
You are currently not involved in the building the technical aspect of NIIMs. One of the key contentions in this case is about how NIIMs, what NIIMs actually looks like. And I noticed that you were informed when the expert to the petitioners was testifying. You heard what he said. Right? Yeah, so you could take notes as well. So that is good. Then, do you know who is the administrator of NIIMs? Who is the administrator of NIIMs? Are you familiar with the Registration of Persons Act?
Yes, I do.
You know, you are aware that NIIMs has been created by the Registration of Persons Act, has been brought about by the Registration of Persons Act. Are you aware? That it is the law. You're not aware.
On the legal side, no.
Okay. No. So you wouldn't know if I told you that it is if I told you that the principal secretary, Ministry of Interior, is the administrator of NIIMs, you don't know whether it is the one or whether it is the principal secretary. I don't know who it is, right?
I would say no.
You don't know. Just inform you that Engineer Dr. Kanaja Kibicho has gone. Have you seen academic question? But Engineer Kanaja Kibicho,
I
the first one, one on the 20. Malady Malor, the affidavit one on the 26th of February 2019 by engineer Dr. Karanga.
Yes, I believe so.
Yes,
I haven't necessarily
you. Would you mind reading? We can start with the paragraph. You can start with paragraph. Paragraph 2. So you can
That's under section 9A of section 3 of the Registration of Persons Act, as amended by statute law, Claims Amendments Act number 18 of 2018. I have the responsibility of administering the National Integrated Identity Management Systems, herein referred to as NIIMs, by virtue of office. I am well versed with the facts arising in the petition, and I am competent to depose the facts of this.
the part that I wanted you to read was, and I've just been educating you reading, is that I have the sole responsibility to do that.
I have the responsibility.
I have the responsibility. Yeah, the responsibility of administering names. I'd also like you to read for me 40, paragraph 40 of the same article.
That the purpose of NIIMs is to create and manage a central master population database, which will be the single source of truth on a person's identity, since it will contain information of all Kenyan citizens and foreign nationals residing in Kenya, and will serve as the only reference point for personal information for ministries, departments, and agencies, and other stakeholders with specific population registration.
So he talks about, okay, he talks about, and this is really a big foundation. He talks about creating needs is to create and manage a central master population, which will be the single source of truth. You agree with that? Yes. In paragraph 40 of your affidavit, actually no, paragraph. Paragraph 21.
Paragraph
21. I'll read it. Paragraph 21. That is the best of my knowledge. Is a paragraph that when you begin to talk about names for the first time, to the best of my knowledge, names is neither entirely centralized nor entirely decentralized. Correct? That's your statement?
Yes.
You still hold that statement?
Yes, I do.
You are not part of the team currently working on it, right? You already agree. Dr. Karanja Kibicho is the administrator of NIIMs, right? You already checked. He says the system is a central master population database. You say it is neither centralized nor decentralized. Would you go? Okay.
Clarification and when you look at it,
Do we go with you or do we go with him? Because he says central master. You say it is neither. So
in terms of technical implementation,
I'm not asking you about technical implementation. You are not the administrator of NIIMs. You have more authority than him. He's wrong.
not necessarily. Administrators of the system cannot necessarily development or advice.
So he is not correct.
He's an administrator of the system.
He's not correct.
A lot of system administrators
So you're
buy
saying,
software that has been built by other people.
you're saying,
obtain software that has been done by
My
experts.
lady, my lord, if you can't put that out.
Maybe Mr. Bashir, you can ask the question again. So that I will place clear what question is asked.
you testify.
Now, before you ask, I'm being asked to request the witness to come so that we can get his voice in the record.
So you're saying that the administrator is not a technical expert, right? Which you just said.
Not necessarily in a lot of situations.
Let's talk about this administrator and that statement that you
My
made.
lady, I'm sorry to discuss that. It would be good if also does not system can continue to data. It's not an answer to your question. You are posing another question, so the court can get the response to your question. I think that's the only fair way.
Mr. Bashir,
Thank you, sir.
let's ask the technical questions. I know we are all tired.
I know.
If I may come to it,
Yes.
because he is asking a specific question. The witness wants to come in generalization. And he is politely asking the witness, restrict yourself to the question. Because he is saying generally what happens, he's being asked specific. I think that's the issue here. It's not being cut short, it's about answering what the question is, the question that has not been asked.
Okay. Mr. Bashir asked the direct questions. Dr. Omwenga, please answer the question you are being asked.
You are not the administrator for me.
No.
You are not involved in the technical building of NIIMs.
The current building.
The principal secretary, Ministry of Interior, is the administrator of NIIMs.
Yes, it takes full responsibility for information of the system.
You do not work for the government as at this point. Dr. Kibicho, principal secretary, refers to the system as a central master population data, right?
Yes, it does.
You refer to it as neither centralized nor decentralized.
Technically.
Yes.
Technically.
I'll repeat the question again. You refer in your affidavit, paragraph 21, you say, to the best of my knowledge, NIIMS is neither entirely centralized nor decentralized. That is your statement.
Yes, it is.
You've worked in various companies, and you mentioned you call them multinational corporations.
Yes.
And you listed them in your affidavit. Including but not limited to Microsoft PLC, Nokia, PricewaterhouseCoopers, Nokia Research Institute. Right?
Yes.
So you know the difference between decentralized and centralized.
Yes. May I offer an explanation?
No, I just asked you whether you know. You have to explain. I'll give you a chance. In your affidavit, at paragraph, same paragraph, you say, NIIMS, that would be the continuation of that statement. This is based on the following fact. The operationalization component of NIIMS is centralized in the sense that respective identities of individuals would have to be authenticated from one system. Right? That's your statement?
Yes.
You still stand by that statement?
Yes, it is.
You explain, you want to explain that by B, NIIMS is decentralized to the extent that registrants will be issued with a card containing limited personal identity information as opposed to biometric identity information. Correct?
Yes.
You still stand by that statement?
Yes.
If, and this is really a hypothetical, because you don't know how this is. If an individual is issued with an ID card with information containing biometrics, and by biometrics I mean fingerprints, facial, iris, I think we talked about it. And this card would have what kind? Would have something similar to a chip, right? To have this information. If it was to have, because currently we have identity cards, right? The difference between a card that has kind of capacity would be that it will have a chip, right?
Yes.
Does having that chip make the biometric information, make a system? Let's even add another layer. That card with the chip would be PIN authentication. Right? Are you with me?
That's what possibility is.
Would that system be decentralized or centralized?
It would be, I would call it decentralized. If you allow me,
that's what
may I say that? My definition of decentralized and decentralized.
I will
I will read my affidavit particularly part number 14, part number 14.
Point number 14, that is said, there's no definition there. Mr. Mwanga, more than happy to give you a definition. But we come to that, don't worry about that.
Well, if I can.
We come to that. There's no definition for point number 14.
There's definition of an sorry.
I can't keep running after the definition. Yes. It's okay. So you said that if an ID card was issued with a chip that had biometric, that system would be decentralized.
Yes. Yes.
You explain if you want to explain.
All right.
What makes that system decentralized?
If you start with my point number 14, where I actually quote the UN principles and recommendations that states that a system can be manual or electronic.
I don't want to know whether a system is sorry to cut you off. I want to know, and maybe go straight to the point because we are running late out of time. Right? You said you're going to define what a system is, what I described makes a system decentralized.
Which is really important.
No, we're not doing that. We're talking about UN.
The explanation is in my affidavit. Please give it.
You have said that your affidavit has your
Yes.
That's okay.
Can I please?
The court has your affidavit.
Exactly. So I'm just trying to report to it to use the same affidavit to answer the questions they asked.
Let's stop recording because really we are getting lost. So, Ms. Dr. Mwenga, the question that was put to you is, why are you calling a card with biometric identity information a decentralized system? Was that your question, Mr. Bashir?
Yes.
Can you just
Correct.
answer that?
The card contains a record, and that is a record of your identity. And if that card is given to all the individuals, it is assumed that those records are decentralized because everybody. That means that is a register that is in a manual form. And that's why I took you back to point number 14, saying that population registers can be manual and can be electronic. So if you base yourself, if you follow the construction of the algorithm, you will reach the conclusion that cards held by individuals are records similar to records in a database that can all be in one place, or they can be carried in people's hands.
Let me give you a nice example. The ATM card that you mentioned.
Yes.
It has a chip in it. You go to the bank, you put in a pen, you get the money out. Right? It has the information in that card. Is in that card, right?
Not necessarily, that's not argument. The ideally what the chip has, the chip is being used for authentication, but all your records are within that.
So that system with the ATM card,
that is not necessarily, it is not decentralized because your bank record is not inside the card.
What is in the card?
System of authentication.
System of authentication.
Which is basically a pin.
The only thing that is on an ATM card is only a pin.
That would be my assumption. I have never hacked into an ATM card myself. I don't know whether anyone has managed to move money based on that.
Thank you. I'm glad you have not hacked into anyone's ATM. Then you've talked about, and we agreed, and you said that a card with the chip containing biometric makes it decentralized.
Yes.
A system the other side of that coin would be, I'm really also trying to report as well. The opposing side of that would be that there would be, and you can correct me, there would be a centralized database, the opposing side of that, the master register. And all there would be a system whereby you come, put your fingerprint, and then you proceed from there, right?
You would use, well, not necessarily fingerprints, you could use other forms of fingerprints.
Yeah.
It's multimodal.
Multimodal, we call it multimodal. Thank you for that. But there would be something almost maybe like kiosk or point whereby you will have to go and register almost. How do you explain it?
I mean, when you're accessing government service,
You'd have to go, for example, this is an example of what Huduma Center. You'd have to go to that Huduma Center.
and they will verify
yes,
whether it is you or it's not you.
So you'd have to go to that center and you say, you know, if they want the fingerprints or your face, or they would want something, then that's how they do it, right? So that's what a centralized system is, as opposed to a decentralized. Right? Well, that the difference is, and that there's an entire system that's central strategy. And there's a point whereby you come at kiosk, you enter your database, it authenticates you, and then you proceed from there to get the necessary services. Is that accurate? We call it a Huduma.
Well, in terms of, I think we're jumping to that here because
With that,
we're going into the actual future.
okay.
I honestly don't know what is the thing. I give advice, whether the advice is taken honestly, it's up to the
Let's actually just do that. I wanted to really engage with you. I had read for this technical thing so well, but you can't engage with you on that. So it is your evidence that you don't know any Huduma number has been issued, or any Huduma number has been issued or not. You don't know. Even one. Since the process was done, that collection was done. You know, you don't know. So you don't know what is happening to the data that was collected in the previous data collection exercise that was done. You don't know what happened to it.
How do you think?
Yeah. You don't know.
I would say it's
Yes or no, and I know. You know,
at this very moment,
you don't.
but I could infer that they're cleaning up the data.
You could infer that they're cleaning up the data. Okay. So the data would be somewhere in the file, as that is being done, right?
Yeah.
One of the things that cleaning would include should be something that the expert really talked about yesterday, which is the application. That's the application. Yes. And there's a big issue about what the application is. Correct?
Yes.
I saw you.
Yeah.
According to you, what do you need to do with the application?
Sorry, just
What do you need to do with the application?
why do you need
Yeah, what do you need?
what or where?
What? Mean, what do you need to do with the application? What kind of software?
You wouldn't necessarily need, you basically need the database. And then, I mean, you would probably have a set of algorithms in the database.
Algorithms. You need algorithms, right?
Yeah.
Algorithms are basically, well,
by definition, I would say an algorithm is an expression of a software engineer's steps in achieving a solution.
basically a code, set of instructions.
Yes, and instructions.
Okay. It's a set of instructions on how to deal with that data. There are various algorithms available, and we refer to that in that for doing duplication.
There are probably as many as there are. I could write my own. I don't know, right? Or tweak one.
Including our visitor familiar.
I don't know about it.
You said as many as there are.
I don't think this is the method.
Have you ever written, well, let's refrain. Have you ever written any algorithm for the restaurant? Have you purchased any algorithm from it?
As a software engineer, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
What was the algorithm meant to do?
That was for the library.
Same one that no longer have.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're familiar with algorithms and what they are.
I teach the analysis about it.
You said, with regard to algorithms, they can be done by any software engineer that has this software. What you can do it.
I would say, yes, you have the capability.
And the machine and everything.
Yes.
But to do the kind of algorithm, for example, that is massive, you talk about big data, sort of thing, is that the kind of algorithm that you need would be different from what, and the capabilities that are required would be different from what the average software engineer would be able to do. And we can come really to mental.
Well, there is indeed a spectrum of algorithms. There are from the very simple ones to the very complex. If I may give an analogy, an algorithm like recipe, you can have a recipe for boiling an egg, which are basic steps. Yeah. Or you can have a very complicated
I like that.
And you have a recipe that's actually more.
Actually, let's continue that example. A chef, the average cook will be able to make one meal, right? But if you take a serious operation to make a meal for a lot of people, same analogy.
Not in computing, marginal numbers are not necessarily. They don't necessarily change the algorithm. They'll change its optimal operation, but they won't change the algorithm.
It won't change the optimal operation. Means it will be slow.
It will probably be slow.
So basically, it would not be faithful. It will not be faster, right?
But it'll still give a result.
The result might be inaccurate. Because it's slow.
Not necessarily. It will still give a result. It's just that the performance may not be optimal.
When you're choosing the kind of algorithm that you need, what do you look for?
The algorithm that gives you the right result.
Right result. Are there companies that are known for providing algorithms for big data?
Yes.
You mentioned that you provided an affidavit in the 2017 election petition.
Yes.
One of the big issues in that particular case was about the system and the server, right? Yes. And I presume, and really I'm presuming you will correct me, that the evidence you submitted related to the systems and how the system works, right? Even the affidavit is public, right? So it's related to the system, right?
Yes.
So you gave your expert opinion on how the system works. The system that was designed by a particular vendor, right? The system for, I'll take it straight there. The system was procured by the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, right?
They were one of those.
Do you know that the company that was doing that particular system?
I'm not privy to the
The company that you are testifying that
I was testifying on a system that was owned by Aadhaar.
that's owned by Aadhaar. Yeah. But they do not know the company that did that actually.
I mean, it's in the public. It's in the public.
You are even an expert. I mean,
it's in the public domain, but I just know that
you don't have to be. You don't have to find. Tell me the company's name.
I just know that my name.
Tell me the name.
Otimoko.
Otimoko. Safran Otimoko. Would you say the software engineering world is knows Safran Otimoko? In your world, Safran Otimoko is known pretty well.
Not necessarily.
It's not known?
There are quite a number of
especially Safran Otimoko, well known.
In Kenya, yes, but I don't think it's
in Kenya.
Yeah.
Kenya is very well known. They provided a system. You just find the system you set up, right?
Oh, yes.
What kind of system is it?
It was, if I would call it, a system with a series of parts.
The simple language. Yeah. What was the system supposed to do?
Verify voters.
Verify you mean identify.
Identify voters.
So identify voters would be the first thing that you need to determine who you are, right?
I don't know whether the system was used for registration as well. I mean, I'm not really.
But you testified on it.
I testified based on my involvement.
But you are not involved in the building of that system either, right? You are not involved in the building of that.
No, I'm not.
In this case, you are not also involved in the building of it, right?
Yes, but I gave advisory services.
I asked you. Even the other one you gave advice to me, I think that's the end of you gave advice, but you can kill that, right?
Yes.
You're continuing, you're saying the system did verification, that transmission.
Well, I wouldn't necessarily say that Otimoko paid the whole system, but there are quite a number of players that were involved. So for the transmission, I wouldn't necessarily say that it is something that they did on their own. We use the mobile networks as well.
For transmission. But the system, the algorithm, and everything was identified. You testified about that.
I did testify now.
What did you testify?
I testified, well, honestly, at this stage, I don't recall. I actually recall
Don't recall
doing the
don't recall your you don't recall your testimony at the Supreme Court.
I wrote it. I have to report to it to give you a copy that I can verify. I can't go based on what I give you. One thing that really remains very clear is the scrutiny. The scrutiny of the prosecutor.
Explain that one.
So there was a court order for certain things to be done. And I received those to be done. I just
Presented your plan.
I did.
You don't know, and it's interesting that the allegations that have been made by the petitioner about companies that provide or vendors that provide these kinds of services. And the name is quite fascinating. Quite interesting. That the name OT Mofo, or even the company that is based in France, is alleged in the petition to be the company behind the building of this. And it was also the same company that was involved in the building of the IEBC system in the 2017 election. And you testified that it's correct.
Yes, but Ochimofo did not do the entire system. I was trying to explain that these systems are complex. They have quite a lot of components. The database would have been Oracle. That's not Ochimofo. The servers could have been IBM. That's not Ochimofo. The device itself is probably what is Ochimofo and many other things. But they managed to satisfy technical requirements that the client wanted. So I think that is a question that has to be posed to the client right now, because the client specifies what their technical requirement is.
What it's okay.
And the vendor satisfies those technical. So if it's a question about the procurement process, I think that should be directed.
I'm not asking you
towards the client and not myself.
I'm not asking you about the procurement. I'm asking you about you.
But we're talking about vendors.
Of course, the vendor is Ochimofo.
The allegation vendor is
the allegation in both the election petition and the 2017 election are the same. And you are here providing similar kind of advice.
I believe that should be, that's a question that should be answered by the person who did the procurement.
Mr. Bashir, I think close.
Yeah,
what is this cross-examination in relation to respect to these witnesses?
This my lady, I was finished. This witness was involved in providing advice on a system that was done by Ochimofo, and that's the issue Supreme Court has. The current allegations in the petition is that Ochimofo is involved in the building of the new system, and that was came out in our evidence. The link here is that Mr. Mwenga provided advice and testified in that case is here again testifying that everything else fits in except his admission of what you know for being as anything.
So
maybe we really with the great we are sat here wondering, trying maybe saying to ourselves, maybe we are not as intelligent, trying to see where is he really going, because we are not here on the ID. And the comparison is trying to draw. It's really neither here nor there. It is not a relevant issue. You know? And the issue we raised, and they're telling the court that the witness admitted and put him on for the system. The witness has said no such thing. So the sergeant that is working through, we are totally lost. There is nothing of that kind in either this witness affidavit, or neither is he being shown any affidavit that had the allegations that are being put to him. Even if you have an article in the explanation, it must be relevant. We don't clearly see the relevance of where we go.
And what's more, lady, when you have the opponents being proven, it is completely on what you see in the activity. You couldn't go to the scandal and lie to everything under the sun. And that is why, in fact, your directions you have said and you specify on what paragraphs you want to read. So people gave the number of paragraphs that concern them, and it happened here. Then you must focus on those paragraphs. You need to open it up and make us think that the Supreme Court
I think my learned colleagues, and especially Mr. Regero, has forgotten yesterday. When he asked everything under the sun from our witnesses and we start patiently, he went out of their affidavits and brought them somebody else's affidavits. And this witness is this, my colleague here appears to be laying the ground of the association of this particular witness with one client and repeated testimony, and that is relevant.
yes, while Mr. Bashir would like to, it has to be relevant. The court would not have any problem if you brought anything on record that is related to this witness's evidence or to his affidavit or that is contradicting or confirming. But I'm really at pains to try and connect the cross-examination that you are doing right now to anything that is on record or to his evidence.
I can really move on. Right?
Yes, please.
In paragraph 15 of your affidavit, can you read for me the first sentence of that part?
That therefore the choice of the form of constitutional respect for patient purposes.
You talk about unfettered discretion. You reference if somebody proceeds, you reference Article 86 of the European General. Someone continues that, right? European GDPR gives member states the discretion to examine the specific conditions for processing of a national identification number or any other identifier of general application. Right? Yes. Do you mind you annex BGO4 and Article GDPR. Bundle.
And the bundle is this page next.
It's not my bundle, but I could quickly refer. It's on, not legally, but unfortunately, but it has been printed out from the official Journal of the Philippines. You printed out that it is
Official Journal of the European Union.
yes, my lady. That would be Article 26. Can you read Article 26 for the board? I don't know if you found it.
Yes.
Can you read Article 86?
Personal data in official documents held by a public authority or a public body or a private body for the performance of a task carried out in the public interest may be disclosed by the authority or body in accordance with the union or member state law to which the public authority or body is subject in order to reconcile public access to official documents.
You said in your the states have unfettered discretion. And you said Article 86 gives member states this discretion. You see that discretion. You see Article 86.
Right.
86 actually talks about data protection, right?
It talks about the processing and public access
And then
to official documents.
read at the end of it.
Okay.
Yes, towards the end, it talks about data protection.
The right to the protection of personal data.
The right to the protection of personal data. Does the Constitution give unfettered discretion to government? Are you familiar with the Constitution of Kenya?
I know that.
Are you familiar with the Bill of Rights? Are you familiar with limitation of fundamental rights and freedoms?
Yes.
So you wouldn't be able to say whether the Constitution provides unfettered discretion to government in any way or any capacity by law.
Well, if I may,
You may speak.
in my understanding, the unfettered discretion is designed for
The specific section that you talked about, the specific section that you referenced, Article 86 talks about the protection of individuals' private information, right?
Yes.
As an item, you're familiar with the concept of protection of private data, right?
Yes. it is involved.
Yes, we know.
There are acts that we need to do.
Then you have specialized something called the Data Protection Act. You know what Data Protection Act?
As a single document, no.
You don't know what Data Protection Act.
But there is law that protects data.
You don't know what Data Protection Act.
That is not.
You know of any data protection policy?
I venture to say that it's common practice within organizations to have policies.
I'm not talking about organization. I'm talking about the laws of any. You know of any data protection policy?
Policies are owned by the organization. The government is made of the organization.
In paragraph 16, you actually go very well from that. And you don't mind reading, you don't mind.
For capturing of good careful system design and well-considered government policies are required to promote uptake, mitigate, promote uptake, mitigate risks like those associated with large-scale capture of personal data for systematic execution, and guard against the challenges of digital identity as a potential dual-use technology. Condition minimal level of digital infrastructure, sufficient trust in the identity provider and the policy.
We talk about dual-use technology, right? That is the challenges of digital identity as a potential dual-use technology. What is that? What is dual-use technology?
In this particular respect, it means that the data that is collected is all in-house.
So, is the use of data for its intended purpose. So why would there be a need to guard against the use of data for use other than what is intended?
So I think it's out of respect for the fact that the data was pledged is also known as regulation policy. Was collected for purpose of creating a single system. Then it is collected for purpose of
Creating a single system. And it's interesting how you said that the conditions for digital identity include a minimum level. What do you mean by that?
What I mean by this is whenever you're looking at systems, particularly complex and large systems, context is extremely important. Leads you to the design in particular. And over and beyond that, what you choose, you actually choose systems of fitness and purpose.
Minimum level of digital infrastructure. The conditions include the minimum level of digital infrastructure. Yes. Are you familiar with the concept of data minimization? Yes. I think you referenced it in your study, right? And you recommend data minimization?
Again, richness of forms.
As a principle, as a broad principle, do you agree with data minimization?
Data minimization is, I would say it's useful, but what I would say is you need to apply data minimization, not in isolation, but in the context for the achievement of business outcomes. Let me give you an example. We can say that we want data minimization, and we end up maybe collecting just the date of birth for every year, and then end up having a system that has very inaccurate results because the 10 minimization, but the system is not what it's supposed to do, which is
Yes. And I'm glad you referenced the single source of truth as being the objective of me, correct? A system that is designed to provide truth, like a single source of truth, is almost trying to be almost certain, correct?
Yes.
It would not would find a challenge from data minimization, correct? Because minimization, as you just described, you said, if the data, and I use the example you just gave.
Yeah.
You said, if the data that has been collected is only the date of birth, right? And there are very many people who could have that date of birth. So it doesn't, the data collected is minimum, but it's not fit for birth.
I would say again, not necessarily. The example that I gave in terms of the parameters of the data, as you notice, the universal set of dates of birth is 365. And if you were to spread that across a population of 40 million, you will potentially have two relationships. You can as well have another piece of data that is as many as the population, in which case you can get a unique identifier of everyone. And in that particular case, that unique identifier will be sufficient for identifying this individual. So when we're talking about data minimization, it's also not necessarily about counting the number of points. It is also on a specific quality of that data.
You talk about in your Aadhaar, systems that are deterministic, systems that are probabilistic, right? Are biometrics deterministic or probabilistic? A system that relies on biometrics is it probabilistic or deterministic?
Based on my technology, which is probabilistic.
Paragraph 88. That an identity system that solely relies on one biometric feature is probabilistic as opposed to deterministic. That is it. And then you continue on to say, a system that relies on biographical data only. We talked about this. Biographical data or name, because it could be called random, and somebody else could be called random, right? And you could have the same data. And so biographical information data in and of itself is probabilistic as well. Biometric data taken by itself is probabilistic, right? So, and what we need, according to you, is a system that is deterministic, right?
Yeah.
And if we proceed to paragraph 29, you say the set probabilistic nature of the individual biometric feature justifies the need for the requirement of multiple static and geometry, yellow geometry, voice, wave, and E of C to be both like acid to DNA in identity legislation policy consistent, right?
Yes.
Essentially, what you're saying here is that you need multiple sources of data about an individual in order to ascertain 100% that he will be sensitive, right? Including DNA, which is a pretty reliable way of determining someone, right?
Not necessarily. I would say if you can collect more data for the person like that.
So the system, the more data the system collects, the more accurate it is, right?
Yes.
So the only way, sorry, let me say that. The more data you have on an individual, the more accurate your determination that you will be, right?
That's what we are solving the problem.
Including getting that person's DNA, right? You said that.
That's also a form of identity.
One of the concerns of the petition is that this system is red petition, and the conditions that are there. It is an allegation of the petitioner that this system is designed to collect more and more data that risks their privacy. We say that position is accurate,
But not necessarily. There are other ways of solving that problem.
but you just said the more data you have, the more accurate. Yeah. But this is a system that seeks to be designed to be the single source of truth. Correct? You said the ultimate goal of the system is to become deterministic, correct?
Yes.
That DNA is one of the ways of determining that, correct?
Not necessarily.
DNA is not one of the ways of
It doesn't make it deterministic.
DNA doesn't make it deterministic.
Not necessarily.
DNA is probabilistic
As well. Yes.
DNA is probabilistic. So one of the things that was really sort of discussed yesterday by the expert was the concept of threshold, right?
Yes.
You're familiar with it?
Yes.
A threshold is used in probabilistic systems, right?
Yes. Well, even in deterministic systems, only that it's yes or no.
Because it's more accurate, right?
Yeah, the threshold is the correct.
How there is the setting of threshold in probabilistic systems, right?
Yes.
And if you set the threshold in probabilistic systems too high, right?
Yes.
It has the likelihood of resulting exclusion of a lot of people, right? As a principle. Let's take fingerprints. You talked about fingerprints in your last statement. If you take fingerprint, and I'm trying to work with you explain.
Yeah.
If you take fingerprint and you determine the first step would be take the fingerprint, take the image of the fingerprint, put it in the system. So that next time someone comes, you put the fingerprint in a machine, and then the machine does authentication, which is comparison, right? Now, what the machine is doing is comparing the image that you put there with what it has in the record, right? Yeah. And it comes back with a percentage saying this is 90% prime one, right? You know, does it come back with 100% this is prime one?
That's what I would say. I would say more.
It just comes back with a percentage.
So yeah, it's more probable.
It's more probable than not. Now, and what we do, if you set when thinking,
I want computers.
The percentage, right? It says, if you set the threshold at that the comparison, because doing comparison between what is in the system and what is put in right now. Right? If it comes back, you put the threshold at the 80%, right? And the person who's putting the fingerprint does not put the fingerprint properly, so it will be right. Sometimes one of the fingerprints is smart because we got half or something like that. Or you do not put the fingerprint correctly. Then the percentage, and you put the percentage at 90%, then it will mean that a lot more people, the result will be that you grab them one long go and put your fingerprint, and then the result, there will be a higher chance of the system telling you if you say you're correct.
Well, yeah. In general, you're looking at the quality of the scanner and quality of the countries you have. In general, if you have really good templates and then the scanning image is also very good.
I'm interested in the threshold that you set. If you set the threshold too high, the chances of you locking out more people are high. I mean, that's your design. If you set the threshold higher, you want it to be even more accurate, presumably, right? Yeah. And if you set the threshold too low, it will be that more and more people would be, there would be a mix, right? It will be duplicated. Yeah. Right? Yeah. So it is the setting of the threshold, together with all that that determines who a person says he is, right? Because it's still a percentage.
I would say if you're only using fingerprints.
We've already determined the fingerprints and determined how they are probabilistic. That is the percentage that is set, and that percentage might be lower. Right? We've already determined that you use something like a name, two people can have the same name, correct? Yes. Probably even more probabilistic, right? Yes. Explaining the logic that we've checked fingerprints biometric here. Let's call it biometrics fingerprint scale. Yeah. A, right? Correct? Yes. We've checked biographic details scale B, correct? Yes. This one has given you 70% chance this is prime one, correct? Yes. This one has given you 70% chance prime members, correct? Explain to me how mathematically you add 70% plus 70% divided by 200, it becomes 100%.
Using using your method, that's not possible.
That's not possible.
There are other ways in which you can get deterministic systems.
Thank you very much. You say in your diagram, the combination, and it's the same paragraph, paragraph 13. You say, however, biometric features are probabilistic as opposed to deterministic. However, combined with the matching of other biometric features and biographical data, it results in a system that is deterministic. That's your statement, right?
Yeah. May I just add that in our conversation, I also mentioned that if you manage to have a set of identifications that are unique in our previous exchange.
Yeah. We already discussed the more data you have, the more.
If you look at what you pick in terms of fingerprints, date of birth, etc., then you have a bunch of really probabilistic items. But if you also look at my affidavit, I make reference to other biographical data points, which includes your birth certificate, your national ID card, which would be not accurate. And now, if you allow me to explain, if you look at your national ID card, the assumption is that your national ID card is unique. Your ID number is unique. All right. So you're supposed to have one ID number that is not the same as the other. So if we are to pick your fingerprints, and then you pick as a parameter, the question here is the choice of a parameter and the uniqueness of this parameter. If I'm able to get a parameter that is indeed unique, it will give me certificate. So in this particular case, if you have your,
would you say, yes, before that, would you say that in terms of most unique parameters, biometrics are very unique? Like your face is very unique? You use the word unique.
Yes, your face is indeed unique, but in terms of processing, it's probabilistic.
You've determined that.
So your face is not necessarily something that will give you a deterministic answer.
Are you saying unique is deterministic or unique is probabilistic?
A unique is deterministic.
Unique is deterministic.
Yeah.
And you just told me that your face is probabilistic.
So, no, but I'm talking about the processing. The processing of your face will give you a probabilistic result. Because the way in which your face is processed is based on those 9 points. All right. But the processing of your ID number, if your ID number is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it is either 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or it is not. And that is a certainty. So if you're looking at a situation where you have already a parameter that gives you that level, some level of uniqueness that you require, that parameter, if you put it in the multimodal, should be able to give you a deterministic system because it is non-repeatable.
I think I've made my point.
So it is possible for the system to be deterministic based on how it has been designed. That's why you have to understand.
But you have not been involved in the
You have to understand. You have to understand Kenya's context before you start speaking about NIIMs. Yes. And if you understand that, yes. And do you understand that we have ID numbers? And are those ID numbers supposed to be unique?
Just wait for the questions and answer the question, and then answer.
One of the things that we talked about in paragraph 40, paragraph 40 maybe, in my beginning.
That even if one was able to gain unauthorized access to the same national master population register, the database, and then mask the personal information kept therein, the same would be of insignificant commercial value. This explains why access rights to the Aadhaar database containing personal information of over 700 million people admittedly retail at a mega fee of 500.
You see it done by that statement?
Yes, I do.
Sure.
Yes, I do.
Let's take your, if somebody took your personal data, or let's say a high value position. You can even take the example of the principal secretary, correct?
Yes.
Are you saying that information relating to the personal information relating to that principal secretary would have what insignificant commercial value? That would you say?
In terms of identifying the personal secretary, I would say,
Answer that question. Are you saying private information relating to this high value target, because we can high value target, if this private information, personal information, leaked on the internet, it will have insignificant commercial value?
it depends on the data that has been leaked.
So, personal information.
If I leak the date of birth, that can be that distribution.
That's a good one. What do you understand by personal information? Does your health records constitute personal information?
Is it identity information? Personal is
Okay, let's take identity information. Would your blood group, for example, constitute identity information?
a very poor.
Yes or no?
It's a very poor piece of identity.
I'm not asking
Because
the qualities of, I'm asking, would your blood group constitute form of identification?
it's
A yes or no?
a very poor form of identity, I would say. It's like, do you have a face?
Let's go to the next one. Would and we talked about facial features being probabilistic technology. What I'm asking, for example, health data, something like HIV/AIDS, would that be personal information?
That is possible.
Would you say if the health data is a high value target, leak, as was the case in Aadhaar, you would say that that would be of insignificant commercial value?
If you're speaking about it, I mean,
You talked about that.
in relation to names,
Wait, you said, let's listen, you talked about names actually. You said, even if one was able, and maybe I'm reading paragraph 4, even if one was able to gain an authorized access to the state national master population register NIIMs and unmask the personal information kept there. You're talking about NIIMs, you're not talking about Aadhaar. You say it would be of significant commercial value. You still hold that statement?
yes, I do. The fact from that statement is that that data retail for 500. That's the fact. So that's the value that the data really have.
You're familiar with this leak that we have, correct? Because you talk about it. Are you familiar with the 500 rupee?
It's of those, yeah, it's of those.
You're familiar with it as a computer guy. You're familiar.
Of the story.
You're familiar with the story. Yeah. You're familiar that This was what people were paying to access the system, correct?
I'm actually not.
You just said you're familiar.
I'm familiar with the story, but I'm not. What should we call that? Like, what on the other?
I'm not saying you went for that. I'm asking you.
But you just want you.
I'm asking what basically you put here. I said it's a meager 500 rupees.
Is that right? You asked me a very important question about how I
So you don't know how that we okay.
Okay, context. What I know is a fact of the story.
Well, tell me the fact.
That data leaks and the person tried to sell that information and the most they could get was 500 rupees.
It was
online.
What I'm telling you, and this is what I want you to confirm. We were selling access to the system, correct? Or he was selling personal information of that individual. Do you know what was happening? You don't know the fact, correct? So let's go to the question. If somebody sold you access to the system for 500 million, and you gained access to the system for 500 million, because you need 500 million, right? You could get information of whoever you wanted for 500 million, correct? Now, is it still your position that the information of the high value target that you gained after paying 500 million is of insignificant commercial value? That's the question. Simple. Yes, sir.
It depends on the data that is accessed.
Oh, you said personal information is after an example.
Well, I'm not certain whether that's what it's not.
So you depend about something which you are not sure about. Okay, I can just move on. One of the key concerns that petitioners have raised is on access to information. You're aware? You have not tendered as an expert. You have not provided any documentation on the architecture of need. Have you?
No, I'm not.
You have not provided information or any documentation about how the deduplication will be done. Have you?
No.
You've not provided any information about how the data of individuals will be provided. Have you?
No.
In paragraph 17 of the law chain, how is that question?
Paragraph
17.
I think there are many, I think 5 or 6 Romans, they're bigger.
Bigger than what? That's the one in the south. I'll come back to that. You're aware, we discussed this, that the government has collected a lot of data on this new system, right?
Yes, I think the number is what I'm speaking.
30 billion division, that is correct. Can the system be redesigned at this stage? I mean, you're aware that I have not mentioned, right? That
Yes, I wouldn't have a good answer to that.
I like to read paragraph 3. And read for me from precondition.
Preconditions for digital identity include a minimal level of digital infrastructure, sufficient trust in the identity provider, and a policy landscape that provides safeguards for individuals.
If I told you that
is paragraph 16 of the witness is not enough.
yes, the witness, in brand among us, from the last sentence I read, to be lined by precondition. Preconditions for digital identity include
Preconditions for digital identity include a minimal level of digital infrastructure, sufficient trust in the identity provider, and a policy landscape that provides safeguards for individuals.
sufficient trust in the identity provider. You're aware about the reasons why NIIMs was brought about, right? And actually, why NIIMs came about. You're aware.
I am aware from the research that I did, the consultancy that I did.
Why?
Typically, if you take a look at government operations, there are,
with regard to this issue of trust in the identity provider.
yeah, so there is in government's provision of service to citizens, one of the key repeatable processes they typically do over and over again is to attempt to identify who the citizen is for purposes of giving service to the right people who deserve that service.
So it is to identify accurately, isn't it? Right?
Accurate
Or service provision.
Exactly.
And that needed to be improved upon, correct?
Yes.
So you're telling me the current system is not as accurate as it could be, right? That's why you bring the new system, right? It's an improvement.
I would say it's a little improvement.
So the current system has issues, now you want to correct by being a new system.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
So the current system is not accurate, right?
It's not really about accuracy. It has, for instance, problems of, if you want to call it semantic interoperability. So you have different organizations that have created their own standards as to how they identify individuals, which becomes very difficult, therefore, to have one system that really gives you the correct answer. So it becomes a government for purposes of efficiency to say, we can solve this problem by creating one system that covers the problem of, for instance, semantic interoperability, where you can come here.
Semantic interoperability.
Semantic interoperability simply means that you can have one organization referring to your identity in one way, and another organization using a different form to identify.
So you use an example of that. For example, you have
so you have
one passport, and the ID would say that you're another passport.
You have an ID number, and the formats are typically different.
One of the grievances of the past petition is that they have had a lot of issues to come with identification. Right?
Okay.
We are familiar with that.
An important area for you in terms of your cross-examination. I know that now, so I'd like us to adjourn so that you have enough time and you are fresh when you are cross-examining on that particular issue. Yes, how much longer are you going to take?
30 minutes. I think with myself and something like that.
So, Mr. Mwenga, we stand you down until tomorrow 10 when we continue with Mr. Bashir's examination, as well as the examination by Mr. Yesterday. So we'll adjourn until tomorrow 10 a.m.